Global News. Global News Sports.
Jazz and blues.
Good morning, everyone. Global News, welcome back. Let's talk about it. You know this new theory that was put out saying the Big Ten and the Big Ten and the SEC supposedly threatened the Big 12 because the Big 12 is rising. Everything is percolating to the top, and they are now a force to be reckoned with when I guess everyone thought that they wouldn't because Texas and OU left. And by the way, I want to add this. For all the schools who left the Big 12, let Colorado be your example. And I will say this in particular to Texas A&M, and Oklahoma, because I know Oklahoma the Sooners didn't really want to go to the SEC, but they went on and went along with Texas. But I will say this, if the SEC humbles Texas and to a point to where they realize that, when they left, they was so, arrogant with their thoughts and thinking that, they jumped over, to the SEC. This is for Oklahoma, Texas, and A&M. If things don't work out for y'all in the SEC, y'all are welcome to come back. I don't know what to say about those other schools that left earlier, Mizzou and so on and so forth. But I know Texas, Oklahoma, and A&M, you guys can come back. We will leave the door open for y'all to come back if you guys decide to come back. And by the way, the Big 12 is growing and becoming a better conference with you guys leaving. So whenever y'all decide, let's say y'all go through this next TV contract and, of course you're getting paid a little bit more, maybe 15, 20 million more at this point. But at some point, things are going to level out anyways. You guys are welcome to come back to the Big 12. And it'll be even a better conference if y'all do that. And so I also wanted to add, it's not so much all the time about jumping ships. Okay, because, the Big 12 is going to eventually flourish to the top. And all it takes is a plan, positioning, foundation, and then everything is set to accelerate, meaning multiple playoff victories, multiple national championships. And that's the goal right now. The goal is to win national championships. It's no longer before all of this change, people used to be like, oh, it's okay to go to a bowl game. And then, the New Year Bowl 6 games or whatever. As long as you went to one of those games, then you were good. But the landscape have changed to the playoffs. Now is a different avenue to winning a national championship. So the goal for the Big 12 is always every year in and year out, to compete for the national championship. That is the goal from here on forward, and that's what it has to be. And with that being said, you have two competitors, Big Ten and the SEC. These are the competitors for those spots, and you guys need to be in the fold. Yes, TCU went last year, and yes, they got there, which is saying something. But now it's time to get beyond that, because it's no longer okay to just think, oh, we need to get to the playoffs. No, we need to win the national championship. Or it's no longer okay to say, oh, we need to get to the national title game. No, your mind, the goal is to win it. every year, year in, year out. That is the new focus. When you train to win the national championship. When you train, you give it your all. When you're recruiting, it's to win the national championship. When you're practicing, it's to win the national championship. When you're playing other opponents, it's to win the national championship. That should be the focus of every member in the Big 12, to win the national championship year in and year out. Year in and year out. Year in and year out. And with that being said, let's look at it. You have this theory that was put out by those supposedly New York Post or whatnot. And it goes over this theory of if the Big 12 wants to have a different vision for the new structure of the playoff, then they can Pac-12 themselves out of the playoffs. I don't know how you do that, but it sounds like to me some form of intimidation. But beyond that, I will say this, that I believe that stems from the ACC, period. Now, let's get back on the ACC, right? Yes, we're going back to the ACC because there's members that do not want to be in the ACC. And I know they're trying to quiet this talk, this rhetoric about Florida State, Clemson leaving, potentially Miami, so on and so forth, and imploding the conference. Okay? To ease the rhetoric, right? There's a discussion of that we should add Stanford and Cal. But we all know, okay, let's be reasonable. How is Stanford and Cal going to skip over the Big 12 in the Big 10 in the SEC and go way to the ACC? Does that make sense? Geographically, no. Financially, no. In the long run, it doesn't make sense. So that is the main three reasons why members in the ACC would be opposed to that, because it doesn't make sense. Not only does Cal and Stanford don't add value to the conference, it doesn't make sense financially. So this is shown as a desperate attempt. And if you read between the lines, okay, if you read between the lines, Stanford and Cal is desperate for landing into a Power 4 spot at this point. And the ACC is desperate for not having the conference implode. And when you put those two together, you start seeing irrational decisions or considerations like Stanford and Cal being added to the to the ACC. And we all know, if that's the case, how come the ACC didn't merge with the Pac-12 a long time ago? Because it wasn't feasible. And then not only that, how come the Big 10 and the Big 12 haven't added Stanford and Cal? Oh, I know. Stanford and Cal didn't add value to the Big 12. To the Big 10. Plus, they already loaded. They have the 4 teams that they really wanted from the Pac-12. And likewise, Stanford and Cal, or should I say Stanford, is too arrogant to want to go to the Big 12. Oh, we don't think that's a good fit. Okay, well, you think the ACC is a good fit, right? Wail across the country, and they're about to implode at any moment. Florida State, in particular, have been very outspoken, and I'm pretty sure Clemson is in the dark with it. They're not really coming out about it, but they are outspoken. They do not want to stay in the ACC, and at the first moment in sight, they are going to leave the ACC. So to add 2 irrelevant schools way to the ACC just only shows the sign of desperation on both parties involved. And it's just adding fuel to the fire. Not only that, if you can add members, right? If you can add members that in the current structure of your TV contract, what does that do for the other members? How are you going to do revenue sharing, especially when we know they're not going to be adding value? To my understanding, didn't people discuss that the stadiums are empty inside of Stanford and Cal football games? Didn't someone mention that the TV rating numbers are very low, or that they don't produce, or they haven't been relevant on the field? So how is that feasible financially? Okay, make that make sense. Skipping over the Big 12, the SEC, and the Big 10 to go to the ACC. I believe that's just to quiet the rhetoric of Florida State and Clemson wanting to leave. And then plus this theory that just came out. No, we're going to get back focused on the ACC. Now, what should be a concern is, okay, if we can add members, then that means that Florida and Clemson shouldn't have no problem with leaving, right? I think the contract is sealed and locked. I don't even think they can add members without opening the contract enough for members to leave. Now, with that being said, that is what to be watching out for the next year or so, period. And all it takes is, I believe, 8 members, 7 to 8 members, I believe 8 members to all come together to say, let's find, this is the process. Now, this is for the ACC members. This is the process. You communicate with other universities inside of the ACC. You guys come together and you first agree that y'all all want to leave to another conference of your choice, or potentially, right? And we already know what the 3 IT conferences is. The Big 10, the Big 12, and the SEC. Those are the 3 conferences, obviously, because the Pac-12 is gone. And once you guys come up, the 8 members come up with, y'all all on the same page with leaving the ACC. Then you communicate to the prospective conferences to locate and see if y'all have a landing spot. And once that's established that you will have a landing spot, then you go to the TV concierge, which is ESPN, and then you present all of that to ESPN, and ESPN will let you know the best way to go about that. Then you proceed with the implosion or the exit strategy. Period. That is the process. That's what needs to happen. And then that opens the doors for members to move around where they need to be, and that put the college landscape where it needs to be. And once again, back to this playoff stuff, though. The Big 12 is going to have a say in what goes on in the playoffs. Okay? Just understand that. And last time I checked, yes, it's not easy to win a national championship, but it's definitely not easy determining who gets to say what when you're all on the same level. So we're looking forward to the new structure of the playoff, and for the least, at least I would say there would be 2 members from each Power 4 conference at this point, or I should say at least the Power 3. There should be at least 2 members at minimum each. It doesn't matter. The 2 top teams from the SEC, the 2 top teams from the Big 12, and the 2 top teams from the Big 10, that would get an automatic berth in the playoffs. And then you may have 1 from the ACC, maybe 2 if Clemson and Florida State, or is it Miami and Clemson get automatic bids, but that may vary every year, but they may get 1 at least 1. And then the group of 5 or some runner-up roundabout teams coming out of the SEC. And, there's in the Big 10 and the Big 12, there's no guarantee. You have to, it's about wins and losses. Forget the strength of schedule, because most of these teams in these conferences anyways, these big conferences, they don't win games all the time because they are going to lose. Everyone has to lose and win games. And it's about the most wins and the most losses. It's not about who you play. It's about who you played. But then again, it's not about who you played, because we all know that if you play Mississippi State, it's a good chance they're going to lose. We all know if you play Ole Miss, it's a good chance they're going to lose. Or we all know if you play Rutgers, there's a good chance that they're going to lose. So come on now. So with that being said, 2024 is the year to watch out for all its changes. And once again, to address the ACC implosion and then the playoff debacle, that's what it is moving forward. Once again, thank y'all for watching Global News Sports, and have a great day.